I want to invite you to decide right here from the outset if this message is for you. If it's not, skip it, send it to somebody else, whatever. But this might be for you if you are waiting for someone else to acknowledge the wrong that they've done to you. This message is for you if when a certain person's name comes up, you have like a visceral reaction, emotional, physical, just kind of sinking feeling in your stomach, or anger that just kind of flares up. If you have that kind of reaction when you hear about someone or someone's name is brought up, this is for you. Or if there was someone who you hope you never have to see again, maybe when you see something go well for this person, you're secretly a little bit upset. Or you secretly want things to not go well for the person or the people in question. If you resonate with any of those things, then what we're going to talk about is for you. All of us, humanity, has to deal with this issue of forgiveness. It is one of the most challenging and difficult things that we will do in our life, but one of the most important. One of the most important things that we must get ourselves to do is to forgive. People who don't forgive, no doubt you've begun to see all of the statistics, all of the research, the data, the health information that's out there in public now that people are talking about from all sectors of society, that when we don't forgive, we become unhealthy. But the people that do forgive, they just live better lives. They are happier. Let me just read you what the Mayo Clinic says forgiveness can do for you and for me. This is from the Mayo Clinic, scientific, research-based information. When you forgive, you will have healthier relationships. You'll have improved mental health, less anxiety, stress, and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, improved self-esteem. Straight from the Mayo Clinic. We just know now, humans, we just know in the 21st century, it's better for us. And when we don't forgive, we become less healthy. We pay the price. We tend to think that forgiveness is about letting someone else off the hook, and it's not. It's not at all. Forgiveness is for us. It's about releasing someone from an offense, but setting ourselves free, setting our hearts free to be able to heal, letting our mind be at peace and not having to run over this situation, this circumstance, this injustice over and over and over again, figuring it out because we just might not ever be able to figure it out. And we don't have to figure it out. We don't have to make sense of it in order to forgive. And when we refuse to release the offense, we're giving the perpetrator more power. No one wants to do that. We're giving them real estate in our mind. We don't want to do that. We're slowing our growth and our progress when we hold on to the offense and refuse to forgive. We're letting ourselves be defined by this instance, by this injustice, and we want freedom from that. We diminish our experience of joy, which is stupid. Let's live and make the most of the present moment. And then the last thing that happens when we don't forgive is we begin to distrust others, not just that person, but then we see a little bit of that person in other people, and we're like, we just isolate and insulate ourselves a little bit more distrusting. And I'm all for boundaries. We must create boundaries. Letting someone it's not letting someone off the hook. We are not just brushing something under the rug. We are releasing the offense, and we will create a boundary. We will decide if this person can be trusted again, and perhaps they won't be trusted again, at least not in the same way. But that's different. We still want to release the offense. We still want to extend forgiveness. Here's what forgiving someone does not mean. It does not mean pretending that the thing didn't happen. It does not mean ignoring the pain or the damage done. It's not what it means. It does not mean eliminating the consequence. That the person still needs to suffer consequences, and they will in their own way, and we'll entrust that to God or to the governing powers of the land. And forgiveness does not mean trusting the person again, like we said. When we forgive, we are releasing the offense, letting go of our desire for revenge, trusting God to bring good from bad, creating healthy boundaries without keeping ourselves in prison, and praying to want blessing instead of harm for the offender. We'll get to that, but let's just talk for a second about some horrific stories of people, briefly, that have extended forgiveness in circumstances that I can't imagine, that perhaps you can't imagine either. Corrie ten Boom forgave a Nazi guard years later who she met and saw who had imprisoned her and tortured her. Rachel Freeman forgave a friend who pushed her into the shallow end of a pool where she broke her neck and couldn't feel from the neck down from that point forward in her life. She forgave that friend. Stephen McDonald forgave a teenage boy who shot and paralyzed him in New York Central Park. He said, "I forgave the shooter because I believe the only thing worse than receiving a bullet in my spine would have been to nurture revenge in my heart." Pastor Eric Fitzgerald forgave and continues to meet with the man who fell asleep at the wheel and crashed his car into his pregnant wife, killing both the mother and his unborn child. Andy Guzman forgave the teenage boy who accidentally shot her daughter at school as he was showing off his stepfather's gun. The two of them travel to different schools and teach about gun safety. And then I have been to Rwanda and seen with my own eyes two tribes, Hutus and Tutsis, meeting together, having reconciliation, forgiving moments and ceremonies to put the past behind them, knowing very well that their neighbor, this person, killed their brother, killed their child, killed their parent or their sibling. But they live together. It's the same neighborhoods and communities as tribe against tribe. Some, even family members, were a part of different hostile tribes. What are you going to do but to forgive, if not just wipe out the entire civilization as they know it? And I watched and I saw as they stood under trees, forgiving each other for the most heinous of offenses against their own family members, neighbors, loved ones. Letting it go. Lewis Smead says, "To forgive is to set a prisoner free and to discover that the prisoner was you." While he was being hung on a cross between two convicted criminals, Jesus said something to his Father, invisible Father in heaven. He said, "Father, forgive them. Forgive these people who are doing this to me, for they do not know what they are doing." Those words have echoed for 2,000 years. They've become famous. Forgive them. These people torturing me, these people beating me, these people unjustly accusing me, imprisoning me, and now hanging me to die on a cross. The most brutal and savage kind of torturous death that they had invented at the time. Hanging from the cross, he whispers to heaven, "God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing to me." I imagine that people would have had different reactions to hearing this. Some would have been offended. Forgive me? You forgive me? You're the one disrupting our religious order. You're the one that brought this on yourself by blaspheming God. Who do you think you are talking to God on my behalf? I don't need your forgiveness. You're the one that's in the wrong. We have a good thing going here with our religious systems and structures, and you're the one disrupting it and calling it into question. Others would have been confused. Does he still think he's talking to God? Is he still keeping up this charade, even as he's tortured and hung on a cross? Does he really think that God is listening to him and that with some of his final words, he's going to bless and extend grace and mercy to us, the people just standing by and watching or deliberately participating in his execution? Confused. Others standing there listening might have had a flicker of hope. He prays for us as he hangs there. He's consciousness, like holding on to consciousness by a thread, and he's praying for me. He's praying for us. He prays that God would have mercy on his murderers. Unbelievable. Maybe some kind of glimmer, some kind of aha, some kind of awakening is happening in the hearts and the souls of a few of the people who are there. Jesus says, "Forgive them. They don't know what they are doing." And how could they? How could they know that all the human decisions, generation after generation, are moving toward this point in time? The decisions that we make in our own life are compounding on one another. Compounding. Good decisions compounding for good consequences. Bad decisions compounding toward negative consequences. We don't even realize how all the decisions that we've made along our path have made us into the person that we are. And we certainly don't realize how that's happened for the generations before us that led to this place where we are now, the DNA that we hold and share and have been groomed by and raised by these parents and then their parents, then them. How could they? How could they know the larger story that they're participating in? How could they know that this is the Son of God? This is God in skin right here among them. They think that they're protecting God somehow, or their creed, or their laws, or whatever. And this is God in front of them. How could they know? How could they know unless God revealed that to them? He says, Father, forgive them. They don't even know. They don't even know what they're doing. Nevertheless, God, forgive them. God, forgive them. They don't understand. This is not just a story about Jews and Romans and Jesus. This is a story for us. This is a message for Christians. This is a message for anyone who's affiliated with a group or a tribe or a religion that is really sure that they're right and is more interested in protecting their doctrines and dogmas than trying to figure out, is this God in front of me? What's God doing right here and right now? Am I paying attention, or am I too caught up in my rigid routines, rituals, dogmatic doctrine, and things and ways that I'm so sure that I'm right, and I'm closed off to maybe what it is that God is saying to me, maybe what it is that God is doing. I'm more concerned about my methodologies and my ways of doing things than I am for my neighbor, than I am doing right by this person, than I am the injustice of people being wronged right in front of me. It's a warning. It's a message to get all of our attention, because we all can fall into that category. We see that, God, forgive them. They don't even know. They don't even know what they're doing. They're blind to what's really happening here, which takes us back to the origin story. And the first humans, Adam and Eve, they have kids, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are famous because Cain killed his brother Abel. To our knowledge, it was the first death in humanity. Maybe God put humans other places, but this is, he probably did. But this is the story that we know about that is passed on generation after generation, that Cain and Abel were the first to fight, to Cain to spill his own brother's blood. And it was all over jealousy. It was all over anger that they brought their offerings to God. Cain, vegetables, as he was a farmer, and Abel, fat and meat, because he was a shepherd, or he watched over animals. And so they brought their stuff, and God approved of Abel's offering, but didn't approve of Cain's offering, and Cain was pissed. So why doesn't God like vegetables? I think that God's a fan of vegetables. I think that God is a fan of whatever, but it's a heart matter. Most religious scholars and rabbis have believed throughout the years that it wasn't about the stuff. It was about the heart and the attitude, and that Cain was bringing just kind of like the leftovers, the whatever kind of stuff. This is heavy. I'm bringing my stuff here. Whereas Abel was bringing the best stuff. Here's a sampling, God, of my best stuff. This is sacrificial for me because I know what matters to you, and my heart is to honor you. And it wasn't the same with Cain. But God wasn't torturing Cain. God was just saying, hey, Cain, get your act together and be careful, because there's anger in you. There's bitterness in you. There's rage in you. Turns out Cain went and attacked his brother in the field and killed him. But here's the plot twist. He didn't know that he was killing him. No one had been killed before. God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. No one had been killed. He was just really angry and lashing out, which is most of us. Even the people that you're pretty confident knew exactly what they were doing, they don't really know the whole story. They don't know the forces of evil that they're partnering with, that they've been manipulated by. They don't know what's going on in the invisible spaces. They don't know the ripple effect and how this is going to hurt you and your kids and their kids after them and all the thousands of people that saw this thing, or the one person that saw this thing that's going to be forever harmed and hurt over they don't understand all the ramifications. They don't understand what got them to this hardened place. They don't understand how they're crushing their own soul as they offend, as they hurt, as they oppose you. And so we align with Jesus and we just say, God, forgive them. They don't even know what they are doing. How can they see the bigger story? We're trapped in a lot of ways. Yes, personal responsibility, taking personal responsibility for our actions and reaping the consequences. Absolutely, we must. And we must forgive to set our own soul free. God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. There's a bigger story here, and I trust you. It's still true today. And the first step is simply this: to decide that we're going to forgive. Step number one, decide. I'm going to forgive. It's best for me. If I don't, I'm the prisoner. I'm the one who loses. I'm the one who's letting them occupy space in my brain. I'm the one who's limiting my experience of joy. I am going to decide. I don't feel it now. I don't feel forgiveness. I don't feel compassion yet. But number one, I'm just going to make the decision. I will forgive this offense. I will release that offender. I am going to allow you somehow miraculously over time to set my soul free, to set my heart free, to heal my heart. And I'm going to decide here and now, I will forgive. I will forgive. It'll be messy. It might take me a while, but I'm going to do it. Step one, I will make that decision. And my decision is not based upon the other person's behavior. They may never come and ask for my forgiveness. They may be dead by now. They may be locked up in prison. They may never change their ways, and that's up to them. They're going to continue to suffer their own consequences. For me, I'm going to release the offense so that I can be set free. I'm going to make that decision. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but that decision it's made. Step two, we pray for strength to forgive and to keep forgiving. Because it's not a one-time thing. It's not I make one decision and, oh, look at that. I feel better. Everything's fine. And when their name comes up again, it's like, oh, I love that person. No. It takes time to get there. Gandhi said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. And so we don't feel strong in this moment. I haven't felt strong when I was deeply wounded or offended. But I pray for strength. God, give me the strength to forgive. And when their name comes up and I have that visceral reaction, I have that response and I have that angst, and it makes me, or I just got to get out of the situation or whatever it is. I pray again, God, give me the strength to forgive. I obviously haven't fully forgiven that yet. Give me the strength for today to forgive. When you're reminded of what was lost that you can't get back, and it just hurts, it just aches a little bit. God, give me the strength to keep on forgiving. When you suffer betrayal and injustice, lose friends and opportunities and income, are forced to move to some other location, have financial implications, you have to live lean for a while you really reinvent yourself and try to figure out a new way, all while supporting young kids, hypothetically. Forgive. Pray for the strength, God. God, give me the strength to keep forgiving, so that when I think about those people, I'm not just bitter, I'm not just angry, but I can have genuine freedom, and I can genuinely forgive, love, and extend grace to the people who hurt me. And here's the deal. When you pray for strength and pray to forgive, do it with a physical posture of hands open. When you open your hands, when we open our hands when we pray, we're releasing the offense. We're letting go of the thing that we thought that we were entitled to, the thing that we hang on to, the thing that we want to cling to. when it comes up again and again. And in the past, we used to just hold on to it and hold it close because we thought somehow that we were entitled to holding on to this offense. That those people, they stole control from me. So I'm going to take control back by feeling my feelings and holding on to this thing. Yes, feel the feelings, feel the feelings. We need to feel the feelings. And we need to release the offense. You don't have to keep going over it over and over and over again. When it comes back up, it's just another opportunity to open your hands. Say, okay, I feel the feelings. I see what's going on here. I'm not in denial. I want to let this go. God, give me the strength again today to really forgive this. This physical posture will help, not only in the releasing, but also in the receiving. Remembering that the God of the universe who gives all good gifts is watching, is pleased, and will see to it that you are restored. We'll see to it that you are the recipient of more good things. We'll see to it that you are filled with the peace that God promises, the joy that will overflow out of you as you are faithful and just keep saying, all right, I'm going to let this go. I've been extended grace. I'm grateful, and I'm going to extend grace, even though they don't deserve it, even though they still haven't asked, even though they're still doing the same things. Boundary created, I'm not going to keep participating in those things, but I am going to extend grace and forgiveness. Step 3, we make sure to share the story authentically, but compassionately. So when we're asked and when we talk about it, and when someone that we haven't seen in a while comes up and says, hey, did this happen? Or how come you're not there? Or whatever, we can share, we can talk about it. We can talk about it authentically even, but we're also going to talk about it. If we talk about it authentically, we're going to talk about it compassionately. Now, I have a tendency to want to just kind of gloss over it, glance off the subject and move on because I don't want to give them any power over me. I don't want to let anyone think that they could hurt me. Those people with their idiotic decisions, they can't hurt me. I'm going to rise above this. And there's some good in there, but not if I haven't been honest with my feelings, not if I haven't been honest with myself about the pain. So there's necessary authenticity and leaning into it and feeling the things. But then there's compassion, realizing, God, you know what? Forgive them and give me the strength to forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. They're trying their best. They're a freaking mess. If I grew up the way that they did, if I thought and had the worldview that they did, I'd probably be doing the same things. I'm going to have compassion. And so when we tell the story, we want to make sure that there's not too much of an edge in our voice, too much bitterness. That we're not overemphasizing or dramatizing the thing to paint those people in a negative view. That we want to be helpful to the people that we're speaking to, that they can relate, that they can learn from this. But we want to be compassionate to the people who failed us, who hurt us, who offended us. Authenticity and compassion both when we tell the story. And you'll be able to see as you're healing, as you're releasing, your story change and how you tell it and the angst in your voice and that cut, that bitterness, it starts to go away. It just kind of melts away as we forgive, and you can show up and you can offer hope and you can offer encouragement. You can relate to people who are hurting, and you can do so authentically and you can do so compassionately. You can honor both. You can honor you and your story, your truth, your journey. And you can honor the offender, and you'll want to because you've forgiven them. And if you find yourself in a position where you're not able to control those words and they're coming out too harsh or too much of a bite, and maybe you ask someone to help you and kind of hold you accountable to, hey, tell me how this is coming off. Tell me how this sounds. And they say, you sound still a little bit bitter, as I did in my circumstances not too long ago when I was first writing about it or talking about it. Someone says, yeah, I don't think you're quite over that yet. Maybe you might not be ready to write about it. You might not write about it, journal about it. Let's journal about it and not publish. You know that if you can't talk about it without an edge, without a bite, without a zinger, without kind of wanting them to look bad, that go back to step 2. See step 2. Let's keep praying. God, give me the strength. Give me the strength to forgive and keep on forgiving so that I can tell the story in a way that's both authentic and compassionate. Then the fourth and final thing that we're going to do, step 4, pray for the offender that God would bless them. Man, That's a tough one, but it's how you know that you've forgiven somebody. When you can sit down and genuinely pray good for that person, for those people. God, forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. God, keep giving me the strength to forgive. When I tell the story, I'm not going to smear them. I'm not going to disparage them. And even, man, God, I want you to bless them. I'm not going to curse them, because our words have the power of life and death. What we say matters. It starts as a thought, but if we let it come out, those words, they move in the world and they matter. We're not going to curse. We're not going to hold those people in prison because we're remembering that we're holding ourselves in prison when we do that. No, we're going to speak life. And we're going to pray, God, even though it's difficult for me, I want you to bless that person. I want you to give them a fresh start. I want you to heal them. I want you to keep bringing compassionate people into their life. I have to create a boundary because they're going to keep doing the thing. They don't realize what they've done. And so I'm going to keep a boundary. But from afar, I'm going to pray blessing. I'm going to pray good. I'm going to pray that you line things up in their life for the greater good, and that you bring good out of this terrible situation. That's the kind of God you are. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to align with and who I want to be. And I pray that you would bless this person. Man, that's where you'll find your freedom. That's when joy will be restored. That's when you'll have a deep and abiding sense of peace. And then you'll notice and you'll see God restoring the years, God restoring the blessings, God lining things up, bringing new people and right people into your path. And you're going to see, oh man, this was terrible. But looking back, it's a beautiful mosaic, a tapestry woven together for good. I wouldn't wish this upon anybody, but man, because I was able to release it and work my way out of it, man, I'm wiser, I'm stronger, I'm more compassionate, I'm more graceful, I'm more resourceful, I'm more creative. I'm more of a learning sponge because I've had to pivot. And there's all kinds of good that's coming from this bad. So we align. God, forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. We extend ridiculous grace that doesn't even make sense, even when they don't deserve it. That's the way to be free. That is when we are learning to be people who forgive.